Is this really one of the most important potential pieces of evidence in this investigation tonight?
Well, I think there's a lot of evidence there, but certainly what's on the GoPro will be very interesting to investigators, whether or not he documented his journey, his manifesto, and then certainly it appears to me that he was looking to go out in a blaze.
Yeah, tell me more about that. What do you mean? Do you believe that he was ready to be taken out today?
Well, when you look at the ceramic tiles, the high-powered rifle, they were certainly prepared for a confrontation. I don't know if he was, how well he obviously planned his escape, and I think a great amount of respect goes to the law enforcement officers that acted so quickly, to include the Secret Service agent and the sheriffs in the neighboring county who put him in custody.
Joshua, I'm curious, and if we can pull up those pictures again, we have these pictures that we obtained. There they are. After they arrested this man, they released these photos, and you can see there's the AK-47, Joshua, and then there's these tiles. The sheriff described them as tiles that were up on the fence and hung from the fence. What do you think that means? I mean, was he using those as a shield, do you think, Joshua?
I think it looks a lot like those are ceramic plates usually used for protection against frankly, high-powered rifles. A lot of military and law enforcement wear them in a high-risk operation. It's allowed to give them better protection in the flak jacket or bulletproof vest they're wearing. That's what it looks like to me.
You know, after the attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania, it was about 9 weeks ago, we saw security become heightened for the former president. We now see him when he gives these speeches and has outdoor rallies. There's the very thick bulletproof glass, which I always find just to be sad, sad state that our country's in, that our, politicians have to speak through that glass. But do you think they're going to up security even more now? I mean, is he going to be allowed to golf? I mean, we know the former president loves to golf, as do a lot of other politicians. Is it just too risky to have him out in an open area like that?
Well, I think it's an important distinction to make, allowed and whether or not there will be increased security. Understand that the Secret Service doesn't have the control over the former president. The president still has free will and can do things that he wants. And sometimes there's a conflict between what the protectee wants to do and what the security detail. I'm not suggesting that's what happened here. Clearly, this is very alarming, but I do believe they'll increase their resources and continue to examine. We know that this is a high threat environment for a lot of our political leaders, and especially former President Trump, the second attempted assassination. So they'll have to increase the profile.
In terms of what's happening right now behind the scenes, Joshua, we've been told that they are attempting to get search warrants, learn more about the suspect. I mean, explain to us what we're not seeing right now. Are they, busting into his former residence? Like, what's law enforcement doing behind the scenes?
Well, they're not busting into the former residence without a search warrant. They're securing the residence. They are also learning a lot about him through his social media, undoubtedly, as we discussed earlier, exploiting his GoPro, any media phones, and then they will get other search warrants for any computers, the vehicle. They'll be talking to his friends, his family. They'll be looking to see, did he have any support? Anything that would lead them down the road of how this came to be.
They explained at the press conference, Joshua, that the way it works when the former president is here at his golf club golfing is they don't shut down the entire golf course, but instead they have a team that creates a perimeter around the president, and they're 1 or 2 holes ahead of him and scanning, doing surveillance, and sort of securing the area as he moves through the course. In your opinion, is that enough? Because, yes, I mean, certainly they did a great job. They spotted the guy. Nothing, thankfully President Trump is okay, but it seemed like an awfully close call. The fact that he was just 300 to 500 yards away and that he had the AK-47 with the scope.
That is very alarming. Clearly, the sheriff laid out at the press conference that brush around the golf course provides great protection from people being seen. Obviously, the Secret Service will have to revamp and look at their protocols. But again, this is something that there was likely a negotiation between the former president and his golf club. Shutting it down was there, as opposed to not. The security protocols that the Secret Service had in place, they worked. And so now that we were very fortunate that that individual was not able to get a shot off, of course, and it's very concerning he got a high-powered rifle. So there will have to be other measures put in place and certainly discussed with the former president.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.